when Mexico City gained or included towns that immediately surrounded it, and I forget the year, and I know you know the year that happened, making it, putting it in the top 10 largest cities in the world. When was that? Was that?
Well, actually, that changed in 1928 when all the towns surrounding Mexico City were incorporated in Mexico City as boroughs.
Right.
But the real upsurge in population comes with the Second World War and extends all the way through the 1970s and indeed into
Right.
the 80s when the earthquake occurs in 1985, and then people begin to desert the city, and population has remained pretty stable since then. So.
What I'm always struck with is when I've been to Mexico, and I feel, after the first time I spent a semester studying in Mexico, I decided I was part Mexican from another life because it felt like home to me. But Mexico City, as opposed to the rest of the huge nation of Mexico, is as you said yourself, Mexico City is run by the only left party or the only progressive party.
That's correct.
And the rest of the nation, you spend all your time within that huge, incredible conglomerate of human beings.
Well, I do a bit of travel.
Do you get out? Do you get out at all?
Of course.
Where is your favorite other place in Mexico?
Well, I travel the
DF?
country. I travel the country. I have been very connected to the Zapatista rebellion in Chiapas, written 4 books on it, and been there, wrote the first story on them before there was even a rebellion. So I go to Chiapas pretty regularly to try and check in as to what's happening with that movement, with the Zapatistas. And, of course, Oaxaca has been a state in which there's been a lot of conflict and fight back.
Movement, yeah. There's always been a lot of labor interest and labor organizing around Oaxaca, it seems.
Well, yeah, I think the teachers
union yeah.
in Oaxaca has been very important. But, there's other places in the country where a lot of stuff is happening. The border is completely dominated now by drug violence. I try and stay away from it, to tell you the truth, but it is certainly
I don't blame you.
One of the only stories that we hear coming out of Mexico these days. And in a real sense, Mexico is so much more than the drug violence along the border. It's a civilization, a country that has a culture and a history that goes back for millenniums. This country is kind of a invented country that came along a couple of hundred years ago. Mexico goes back millennium after millennium. So there's a lot more in the country in terms of culture, in terms of political turmoil, in terms of the social dynamic than just the drug war on the border.
Mexico is amazing that what is done day after day there and what has been done over millennium. That's the sense you have when you are witnessing Mexico. And one of the things that I was struck by, and I haven't gotten out of here to get there lately, but that's even more striking, knowing that it's almost 20 years since I've seen it, was Mexico's ahead of the curve on dealing with extreme pollution. Mexico City particularly.
Well, dealing with it is one question, and whether or not we can actually eliminate it or lower the contamination measurements to a level where people can actually live there. Mexico City, 23 million people. If we look at the zona metropolitan, the greater Mexico City area, the carrying capacity of the ground just can't support that many people.
Right.
And so you need 2 things to support life. One is air and the other is water. Starting with the last, we don't have any water.
Yeah.
Within 10 years, we'll have no water in the city. And we're pumping so much more out of the aquifer than is being put in there that the city is, quite frankly, running out of water every year. In the months of April and May, whole vast sections of the city have no water. And the other is the air. And the air has gotten a little bit better because cars have been kept off the street for 2 days a week. The gasoline's been reformulated. When the air moves, Mexico City air is fine. But when it doesn't, where you have in the winter months, the hot air gets locked in
The
below
inversion,
cold air.
do they call it?
Thermal inversions.
Yeah.
turn the city into a gas chamber.
Right.
And you really just can't support life, that much life, on this very unstable piece of land, riven by earthquakes, surrounded by 34 volcanoes. And it kind of makes for daily drama in the city. Will we survive another day, another week, another month, another year? So that's one of the tensions. I think the real story of Mexico City is how people deal with these severe ecological conditions, and what their ability to be able to accommodate those additions. I call myself a chilango, which is the Mexico City term for, a resident, of the city. Although I come from a place as distant as another planet, But I think that the air has managed to mutate all our lungs to a point where we're all brethren under the skin. We're really all chilangos by the virtue of the fact that we can't breathe anymore.
God help you. And, well, the other thing one of the reasons that it struck me that Mexico was ahead of the curve on that was also because of the extreme amount of pollution, but the fact that in a city of 20 million plus back then, Mexico was able to say, okay, people with this number on your license plate, your cars don't work on Monday, which is the way the Mexicans put it. My car does not work on Monday. My car does not work on Tuesday.
That's fine, Katie, but if you're rich enough, you go out and buy another car, and you put another car on the street, and you get another license plate, or you slip the arresting officer 100 pesos, and everything's hunky-dory. So, it's not exactly a foolproof system. No.
Well, I know that all of the drama that you just described is a hidden part of what attracts you to the place.
That's true.
Am I right? Yeah. John, do you have enough coffee?
I've got enough coffee, yes.
Okay, you're good. We're going to ask you to maybe read a piece of your book, but first put the book in context. This one, you've written so much. It says to me, you spend a lot of time alone, John.
Yeah. It's true. Writing is a very solitary craft.
Yes, it is.
And so I spend a lot of time alone, but I try to spend all my non-working hours in the cafes of the center, hanging out with my cuates in Mexico City and, interacting and getting the word from what's going on in the streets. This book is, El Monstruo is the actual title. I don't know why the U is in there. It's some epistemological construction. So they
misspelt your title?
No, they didn't. It's called El Monstruo, but the U is kind of an anomaly in Mexican. No? This book is written from the bottom up. It's a people's history of Mexico City, from geological times, from prehistoric times, right up until the phony swine flu epidemic last spring. And so it has, a lot of punch from the bottom. And it's also a story, of course, of my relationship with the city. So I'm in the book a lot, and the book has lots and lots of interviews with my neighbors, with folks at the cafe that I'm at a couple of times a day, and it's kind of my office. And so there's a lot. It's not a book written from power. It's written from the bottom up, And I think there's actually no other history of Mexico City written from that perspective,
Well, the power is not missing. The power is your words and your wordsmithing and your hearing.
Well, thank you.
Clearly are a great writer-listener because you put it in there.
I try and listen. I'm wearing a hearing aid now, but I'm hearing better. So
I would not have even noticed that, but now all our listeners know. In the back, you've got a glossary, which I love, being somewhat of a Spanish speaker myself, and I love that you did that in addition to having quite a bit of a great index of your work. So this is quite a tome you've put together. I'm really, if I can be proud of you, if you let me, I'm proud of you.